Okay, as best as I can tell, this is the area where the accident happened. Hello there, welcome or welcome back. My name is Julie and I am on a quest. An ongoing quest to find connection with my ancestors. Let's go see. Who can we find? What can we find? Let's get to know them. Let's figure out, well, what they had to do with who I became, who I am. I mean, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be alive at all, so let's go get to know them. We are on Tabernacle Street in St. George. Wasn't sure if it was a stuffed cat in that window, so I said, Kitty! What do you know? I found a new friend. Hey, buenos días, gatita. ¿Cómo estás? Hi, honey. Hi, sweetie. Oh, so cute. So, the facades of these buildings have changed so much since, these buildings originally went up, 200 years ago, that it's just almost impossible to know. Oh, up in the window. Lulu's with me this morning. Say hi. Hi. She wanted to get up and come along. So obviously all of this, is not original. I want to, maybe the buildings down there? We're going to have to look at them. We have to. Well, and there's also, it says Opera House over there. And then is that the Tabernacle? I think that's the Tabernacle. Must be. We're on Tabernacle Street. I thought she was like a stuffed kitty. And so then I'm like, Kitty! She looks up. Or, well, down. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. She's gone. Don't know where she went. Hey, birdies. So, it could be any of these buildings. Or none of them.
It could be the one that's torn down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as I was walking by. I was like, wouldn't that be so not funny, haha, but funny if it was right here where this building has been torn down? Yeah, oh yeah, I've got pictures, but the facades have changed. Look at that foundation. Wow. Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, it could have been the one.
Look at that.
Right here.
That is amazing, that foundation. And it could, Lulu, it totally could. Okay, so here on Tabernacle Street is where my several greats, grandmother and grandfather, were in a terrible accident. We've tried to figure out which building it is. It's just not happening. It's not, we tried, okay? There's no guarantee. I can put a picture right here of the original building. It was the James Andrus and Sons Co-op, and it was on this street, Tabernacle Street in St. George, but so many of the facades have changed, and I don't know if the building even exists anymore, but the strip we are on is what's left of the architecture of the street. To some of you, it would be the High Street, the Market Street, whatever. It was like the main drag, okay, where the shops were. And Andrew and Adeline were in their buggy, and they were coming down this street, and of course it was pulled by horses. They were getting out. Andrew was attempting to get out of the buggy. It was stopped, okay, but they're old at this point. They're in their late 70s and frail. They've lived a long, hard pioneer life. Andrew's getting out of the buggy, and as he's getting out, he pulled on the reins of the horses. What's a horse gonna do? Well, and not only that, these were young horses, okay? So the horses take off. Andrew tried to grab the reins. He tried to rein them in. He couldn't. He falls to the ground. The horses take off with the buggy at breakneck speed. Poor Adeline, she's like 78 years old. She is sitting there. I mean, she's probably screaming. I mean, who knows what she was feeling in that moment. And then poor Andrew is laying on the ground, watching as his wife of 30 plus years, the love of his life, hurtling down the road. They end up crashing into an electrical pole or a phone pole, one of those, crash into that. She gets ejected from the buggy like 25 feet. Oh my God. One of the neighbors, because there were like residences along this street then. So stores, residences, it was all here. And one of the guys comes running out. He's able to stop the horses. Other neighbors come out, some ladies, whatever, and they get poor Adeline and they carry her in and they lay her on the couch in one of the residences along here. She never regains consciousness, passes away later that day. Poor Andrew, he's injured, but more mentally and emotionally than physically. He's in rough shape. All of this that he's gone through, I mean, can you even imagine? It's overwhelming because I started learning about them and reading everything I could get about them and finding their pictures and trying to get to know them and their stories, and then to be here where this most beautiful but just tragic romance, I mean, the romance itself was not tragic, but the end of it, absolutely tragic, happened right here on this street, possibly within 10 steps of where I am. It's an overwhelming feeling. I feel like energy is left behind, an echo, a shadow, something of these things that happen, and especially traumatic stuff like that, or violent or whatever. It leaves an energy. I really feel like that. How could it not leave some kind of feeling, something, a remnant, if you will, of what happened? I don't know how it couldn't. Something I can say for sure is that wherever it happened here on this street, it headed that way. Because once the buggy took off, well, the horses took off with the buggy, they made it about 200 yards east. Just how utterly terrifying. Not only for Adeline and Andrew, but also, I mean, it wasn't a big town. Everybody knew everybody. And so many of them were part of settling the city of St. George. They had all been there from the beginning. They came down here from other parts of Utah, and I mean, they were pioneers, so they had all come from all over the world, ended up in Utah because they were Mormons. Then from there, even after some of them had already gotten established or whatever in different towns and cities in Utah, they answered the call to come down and settle St. George with the hopes of growing cotton. That's why St. George has the moniker of Dixie, because they were attempting to have their own Dixie. I know there's, some controversy with using those kinds of titles and stuff now, but there wasn't at the time. And the D is still up there on the mountain. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, there it is. The D for Dixie. It didn't end up working out quite as they had wanted. It just wasn't conducive to growing. I mean, cotton would grow, but not in the way that they had hoped. And St. George didn't end up being what they had wanted it to be, but it still ended up a thriving community. And now, I mean, it's definitely a tourist area. We get lots of people into Utah who want to experience the national parks and just all of the amazing outdoor recreation and stuff here. It's beautiful. If you ever get the chance, highly recommend it, just not in the middle of summer. Anyhow, all of the people, neighbors, friends, whatever, church members, these were all people that they knew. You would have heard. There wasn't the noise pollution that there is now, so you would have heard this horrific situation, this accident, and people would have come running, and they did. I saw that in the news articles and in the family histories that I've read and whatnot. You would have heard it. And along this street, it wasn't just businesses. It was homes and businesses, all different kinds of businesses along here, stores, and there was a garage right next, because cars did exist, okay? They were brand new and they were in their infancy, but there was a garage right next to the co-op where the accident happened. So people would have heard this. They would have come running to see what was going on. They would have tried to help. This is, their friend, their neighbor, the family, well established in the area, lots of kids that had grown up here and lived here. And Adeline herself, she grew up here. We went and visited the area that was the farm and found that family plot that had her father, her mother, and many other ancestors, other family members of hers were buried on that plot. Adeline wasn't. She was buried in the Washington Cemetery, but her family plot was there. That was where she grew up. That was their farm. She grew up here. This was oh my God. So people knew them. They were established figures here in the community. People would have come running. Just the scene of it all. Now, keep in mind, they were settlers. They were pioneers. They lived hard scrabble lives. There weren't, big tractors and cranes and all that coming in and making the community for them. They dug it out with their hands. They would have been used to difficult situations and things like that, but at that point, this was an established town and city. It was no longer just a little, out of the red dirt settlement. And so I can't imagine that stuff like that, these kind of violent accidents were happening as much. I have the feeling, a sense that it wasn't as much like that anymore. And so this would have been shocking. It would have, yes, especially their generation was used to difficult existence. But at that point, when the accident happened, this was an established town. I'm just trying to get a sense of what this must have been like. I hear boots, a rustling of skirts. The horses, you can hear the horses, maybe other buggies going by, so you hear the wheels turning. There's just such a strong energy. I gotta tell you their love story.